Did you have some kind of mechanism, in a sense, so that you could make sure that you were true to Tolkien?
Well, we didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honor Tolkien by putting his messages into it. And we thought he cared about things. The countryside and the rise of evil, and he cared passionately about certain issues. And we thought what we should do to honor him is to make sure that what he cared about ends up in the movie. That's what we tried to do.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Now, I had always thought maybe that Peter Jackson would be attached to the project because it kind of made sense. You know, Amazon would want this connected to Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, best trilogy ever made. Well, the rumor has come out that, well, not really a rumor, more of like an interview he gave where he talked about it, where he mentioned that Amazon had approached him and that he was pretty much ghosted, meaning that they were supposed to send him over scripts and they never did. So then he just assumed that they were moving on without him, which I think was a huge mistake, because then normies would come in and think, oh wow, this is connected to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Instead, what we're gonna get is a show that at first tried to hide the fact that it wasn't connected, and you're gonna have a Galadriel that doesn't look like Galadriel, because she's not. She looks like Joan of Arc, and you're gonna have a hodgepodge mix of just absolute nonsense. Because they forced hobbits in the story, because they feel like if it's Lord of the Rings, it needs hobbits. It needs a hobbit narrating. If not, it's not Lord of the Rings. That's how they think. They have a broken sword, very similar to a Sealador sword, because they feel like they need that as well. Of course, they have the Rings of Power. It's kind of like what happens when you have somebody who doesn't really understand Lord of the Rings, making Lord of the Rings. Now, in response, obviously, Amazon was like, well, we had rights problems. We needed the show to stay separate. Of course the shows are separate. This is the Second Age. Your show is not about the Third Age, which is where The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings takes place. So you could have easily gotten Peter Jackson to do this. This is just an excuse, because it's like, well, Peter Jackson wasn't really, he didn't really like what we're doing with the show. He didn't think it was right. Most likely, that's probably the answer. He wasn't a yes man like the showrunners we have. He was more pushy. He was like, please respect Tolkien. Go back and buy all the rights to the Silmarillion, which is what you fucking needed, by the way, to even do the show. Too funny. Now, I'll probably do a separate video on the showrunners, because they're pretty interesting. More so, they have almost no experience, but at least they got the people who made the music and composed it as well. So I guess that's a positive. A show or movie on the Second Age of Lord of the Rings would have been great, but instead we got this crap. Better luck next time.